Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to our instant reaction pod. Consider this a little bit of stoppage time where no amount of stoppage time would have saved Lazio on this day. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, joined by my co host, Caleb Adams. Caleb, what the hell did we just witness?
Man, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who feels this way, but I'm honestly not surprised. I think I would be more upset if I really thought we were gonna come in here with anything more. I expected at best a draw today, simply because of the form of the team, how we've played in matches like this and circumstances. I honestly even thought like, okay, 1-0 loss, like take it home, see if we can turn it around. But um, of course, it was still disappointing just the way we lost. It's one thing to be defensively sound. You can see just a bad goal or just one passage of play that you concede on away in the conditions. But it was just honestly, and we'll get to our three words, but I'll elaborate more when we get there.
Yeah, well, look, we don't want to spend too much time on today's episode, to be honest. Just kind of run through this. We've got a lot to focus on. Big matches coming up, and today, quite frankly, was pretty demoralizing. So, jumping right into this, starting 11 of a very limited roster at Baroni's disposal, with both suspensions, injuries, and then availability in terms of players that were on the Europa League squad. So you got Marusic on the left, Romagnoli, Hila, Hisai getting the start at right back, Mandas again getting the tap for the starting goalkeeper role. Your midfield, Guendouzi, we see Vecino in because of Rovella's suspension, Zaccagni, Pedro sitting in behind Dia, and Isaacson on the right. This one, honestly, Caleb, right from the bat, you got a sense for how this game was going to go. You saw Guendouzi immediately losing the ball, kind of being muscled off, soft, missing his mark, missing a tackle that led to a Bodo Glimt shot. Amanda stretch save 6 minutes in. You started to wonder, if this was going to be indicative of the match, and it certainly was. Bodo Glimt with the first real chance, shot in the box that they completely scuffed wide. Again, indicative of a lot of what happened. Players free in on the box. Another Bodo Glimt missed opportunity, which was a tale for them. If things happen to turn around on the second leg, Bodo Glimt is going to be quite regretful because this is a match that should have been a lot uglier than it was. They missed a ton of chances. We actually stumble into the second half 0-0, and then it's a couple minutes into the second half where Bodo Glimt breaks through. 47th minute, it is just embarrassing marking, a story of the entire match. And then in the 69th minute, you see Vecino stretching, lazy, lack of body movement, and a nice chip over the top sees Bodo Glimt, despite a Romagnoli effort to clear it on the line, bag their second goal. A couple missed chances later, sees this one finish 2-0. Caleb, your three words or less to describe this match.
My three words are could be worse. That's really the only thing I can glean from this game. Is keep in mind, to give some context to people going to this game and this match. Yes, of course, Lazio coming in are seen as favorites, but Bodo Glimt has not lost a game in Europa League this season. They also have incredible home form, and they've waxed some teams at home. I mean, like they beat Porto, they beat Roma 6-1. I don't know if that was. I think maybe that was early in the season. I'm not exactly sure when that match was, but like this is a tough team to play in their stadium. So that combined with just the whatever we saw today performance wise, it was like amateur. They played on a turf field. Lazio looked worse than a high school game I played on a turf field today. I mean, I would go ahead.
It's no surprise. Like you talked about it, like Bodo Glimt. I mean, for anybody that's watched Lazio, they were concerned. I mean, they're absolutely like, I went into this one being thrilled if we would have walked away with a draw. And that's a combination of how strong Bodo Glimt is, particularly at home, where they are in their season in relation to every other league. And then our form. We've been dreadful lately. And a result against Atalanta doesn't change that, because Atalanta has likewise been in really poor form, and it wasn't like we played magnificently against Atalanta. We just did enough, and we held our shape. But yeah, for me, I had absent midfield in this one, because when we really think about the keys to this match and where it all went wrong, it starts and ends with that midfield. So I'll kind of segue to you, Caleb. Like, talk to me a little bit about how dreadful that midfield combo was, and why ultimately, if I'm placing any blame on anybody, it starts and ends with Vecino and Guendouzi.
Yeah, no, I genuinely think that was the single propelling factor in the performance today. We know how key midfield is. That is the heart and soul and the link of the whole team. If that is everywhere, it's tough to get into games. And today we saw, and I think and this is what I really wonder, because Baroni likes this sort of man-on-man scheme where the midfielders will run out and mark a man. And at this point of the season, it's costing us, just straight up, right? This man-on-man scheme of Baroni, he actually kind of backed off of it against Atalanta, but didn't have the same respect for this match. Which, okay, you compare the teams, yeah, maybe, okay, that makes sense, but we're rotating. You have players coming in. I think Baroni messed up on the approach today.
Yeah, 100%. We've talked about his approach to matches being the most frustrating thing about Baroni, and this is another notch in the old negative belt. When I think about him, it's like understanding situations, understanding opponents. Look, this is the first leg of two. There's a different mindset in tournament football, and he's got to understand and respect the opponent and go into this one knowing the situation, knowing that it's very much a win to walk out of there with a draw and set yourself
exactly.
up.
I
And
don't know.
he didn't. He didn't play to the players' strengths. This is
No,
you don't have a Rovella. Bellion is not in the squad, so you're
exactly.
limited in what you can do. You can't just keep doing the same things. And to me, I'm very, very frustrated in that. And I know we've got a lot of bidones to talk about, but let's veer a little bit positive. I've got one very clear man of the match. I suspect you've got the same. It's got to be Mandas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Without
it.
Mandas,
It's Mandas.
yeah, without Mandas, it's a 4-0, 5-0 performance. Without some very poor finishing from Bodo Glimt, it's a lot grimmer than it was. I mean, that 92nd minute save that he had, I texted you and I was like, Providel concedes that. Every bit a reason to concede, like every excuse. It's kind of a free header. It's right there on frame. But him coming up big and saving something that again has every excuse for it to be conceded, ultimately gives us a chance, grim as it may be. But because of how big he was tonight, we can go into Stadio Olimpico and look. It's find a goal in the first half. You play a half by half. You can cut it. You got two halves to find two goals, and then you've got home advantage to find another. Now, before we go into Bidone, let me ask, like, how confident, like, where are you putting this on a scale? If you're saying, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how confident are you in the second leg, knowing that situationally we're at home? There's a lot to be negative about for sure in form, but we'll have Rovella back. Tati should be now. He got some minutes under his belt. We should have a more well-rounded roster at home.
That was the only other positive too.
What's that?
Yeah, the only other positive too was that Tati got some nice minutes to kind of warm up, and he didn't get hurt. That was the only other positive outside of that.
Yep. So give me scale 1 to 10. Where like confidence level going into the second leg?
I feel like part of me feels that how that Roma game goes is going to impact a lot of how we go into the Bodo game, confidence wise. If we show up against Roma at home, um, I think we could use that to propel us in another home match again, especially with the crowd. I do think the team has very similar Charlotte FC syndrome of where if there is a large, even if there's a good traveling contingent of fans, they tend to do better. But with that said, the home form has not been good in 2025. So I say all that to just go back and say I'm feeling maybe like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, 5 at best for
I'm
me.
kind of like, yeah, maybe it happened, probably not, you know.
We haven't scored our fair share of goals, in a while. Or we've seen the attack clicking on all cylinders. This past match against Atalanta was our first clean sheet in a while. So now you're asking for us not to concede and to bag at least 3 goals to come away with this thing. The math isn't on our side. The statistics isn't on our side.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's tough to feel confident about anything in this team right now. I thought Atalanta could have been that sort of shifting point, but it's just been a continuous trend of mostly down this year and a few highs here and there.
Yeah, and look, this is a match where we're so stretched. We're conceding opportunities after opportunities defensively. So you would think, okay, are we playing free flowing? Right? Are we at least creating? And it was anything but. 58% possession for Bodo Glimt to Lazio's 42. Expected goals 2.88 to Lazio's 0.34. We couldn't create anything. 18 shots to Lazio's 6. 6 of those on target. Lazio had 1 chance on target. That was it. Nothing classified as a big chance. Bodo Glimt had 5 big chances. It was as one-sided as you could possibly get in a match, and that's the frustration there.
Yeah.
It's not one where we were unlucky. It's not even one where our defense was so terrible, but we're creating sometimes it's at the expense of an attack. There was nothing. There was no attack. There was no defense. Really grim. Now we've got a derby coming up. And you're coming off of a performance like that. I've told you, as far as Baroni goes, like I need to see what happens during these matches. But today wasn't good, and now I'm fearful about a derby. Now we know that in a derby, if there's any positive, if there's an additional positive out of this, is that for whatever reason, going into a derby, it seems to be the team that has more questions behind it that walks away with a result. So maybe that plays to our advantage. But if you're going into it just thinking about form, my goodness, this is not good. So
no, yeah, it sucks, and I think this next Bodo game, and I think this Roma is this derby right here that's coming up. I think this is going to really sort of cement some opinions on Baroni in the fan base. I don't know if you feel that way, but I get this feeling that
it's everything. That's it's everything.
I'm not even saying this from me personally. I'm sure it definitely will heavily influence how I feel. And don't get me wrong, but I do think seeing sort of the vibes around the team, the perception around Baroni right now, it does seem that like this right here, these next 2 matches, could very much determine whether the fan base is done or willing to give him some time.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I think Baroni's playing for his job, to be honest. Here,
100%. And for what it's worth, which is very little, like me personally, like this is where my decision on how I feel about Baroni comes in. It was this stretch of games. It was Bodo Glimt, not asking for anything unrealistic, not asking for us to be in the finals of Europa. All of that would be nice. But we're not just losing. We got the doors blown out against Bodo Glimt. This isn't 2 years ago when Sadi beat when we beat Bayern Munich in the first leg and lose in the second, where we can talk about a valiant display. This is Bodo Glimt, and just to lose in that way, and then to now in the second leg, we'll see if we don't show up, if we get the doors blown off of us in a derby, it severely undermines anything positive that we've done this year, goes out the window, because again, we're going through one of the most brutal stretches that we've had. And then it just shows an inability to change and adjust and react to things that have happened the first go around, which we talked about, like his adjustments. And then in these big games where, like, if you want to be a Champions League side, like, yeah, you got to take care of the small sides, which we're not doing, but we're also not showing up in these really important matches. So everything to play for. And, we're still in these competitions, but it's getting grimmer and grimmer. And where we had our positive stride, we're not there anymore. We are on the complete opposite ends. It is two very different tales of this Lazio side. No consistency, no middle ground. It's one or the other. And unfortunately, we're at the other, and it's not looking good. So big match on Sunday, Derby. We'll be there to cover it. Next week, second leg, Bodo Glimt. Lots to work on in these couple days. But, win, lose, draw, snow, sunshine, artificial turf, natural surface, sempre forza Lazio.